Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a die-hard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Please click on that little like button. Somehow it matters for me. It helps me out a lot. So please click on that like button. Today we're going to talk about Cade Cunningham and the MVP voting and the All-NBA voting. So Cade, it's ironic here. So Cade finished 7th in the All-MVP voting, and he finished 3rd team All-NBA. So both of these, I don't know if they have the same exact group of broadcasters. They get 100 sports writers and broadcasters do the voting. And then I don't know if it's the same 100 for All-NBA or if it's a different one for MVP. But if Cade finished 7th for MVP, that would make him on 2nd team All-NBA. So that would be would be the 2nd player chosen for All-NBA. And the voting goes a little bit different though. So when it comes to All-NBA, they pick 3 teams and they give 5 points if you're given a player a 1st team vote, and they get 3 points if you get a 2nd team vote, and you get 1 point if you get a 3rd team vote. And so anyway, obviously Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Donovan Mitchell, they made 1st team, and Tatum and Giannis and Jokic all made 1st team. So that was probably, everybody was sure that was what was going to happen. Maybe they thought Mitchell might not make 1st team. There was some discussion about that. And then 2nd team, Brunson, Steph, Anthony Edwards, LeBron, and Mobley made 2nd team. 3rd team was Cade Cunningham, Therese Halliburton, Harden, Towns, and Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City. So it's just so interesting to me. So in the MVP voting, everybody thought it was going to be one of the closest voting because everybody that I listen to all the time, they just said it was going to be Shea and Jokic. They couldn't decide which one it was. Both of them deserved it. They went back and forth. All these people that discussed it over the last month or so, they just struggled. But everybody thought but there was a big gap. Shea got way more votes than Jokic did. And then 3rd was Giannis, which again, he's in a tier. He's almost as good as those guys, and he had an amazing year, underrated in my guesstimation. And then Tatum is really good, and he had a great year, even though obviously in the playoffs he didn't. And then after that, it really drops off. But those 4 were clearly the best 4. And then so Mitchell finished 5th in the voting, LeBron finished 6th, and Cade finished 7th. So in the MVP voting, you give a guy, they get 5 points for a 1st place vote, 4 points for a 2nd place vote, 3 points for a 3rd, 2 points for a 4th, and 1 point for a 5th place vote. And so Cade received 1 4th place vote and 9 5th place votes, which is really impressive. And so he got 12 total points, but he had 10 different writers vote for him. Anthony Edwards got 2 4th place votes and then 6 5th place votes. So Cade had 10 writers voted for him, and Edwards had 8 different writers pick him to be in the top 5. So they both finished with 12 points, but when I read the articles, they all said that Cade finished ahead of Ant. So I'm going to go with that. But then Steph got 2 5th place votes. Brunson, Harden, and Mobley all got 1 5th place vote. So that doesn't make sense what happened with the All-NBA voting, that Cade finished above those guys in the MVP voting. And I can get it. You know, MVP and All-NBA can be 2 different things. How valuable you are to your team. And again, Cade carried so much of the load on his team. But there's just so many arguments. I don't want to take too much time going through everybody and stuff. But, you know, like Brunson, for example, he's a great player, undeniably, and he killed us. But they take him off the court if it's a possession when they have to get a stop. at the end of a game, they take Brunson out and sub somebody in for defense. They try to hide him. He guards the worst player on the other team all the time. And I agree that offense probably is more important than defense, but it's just fascinating how it goes. I really was anticipating that Cade would finish second team. I was just sure. And then when the MVP voting came out, which came out before this, the All NBA just came out today. And yesterday or the day before the MVP voting came out. So when I saw Cade finish seventh in the MVP voting, I thought he's a lock for second team. And here's a big thing. He's going to get $40 million more over his max extension because he made all NBA. If you make first team, second team, third team, or if you make all defense, you get to get that bump. You get a percentage higher on your rookie contract. So it's going to cost us like $9 million more a year towards the salary cap, which he deserves it. We're all happy for him that he got it, but it does make a difference in how much cap space we have. But he did get it, so he got third team. I could not find. I tried to find out what the exact breakdown of voting was for All NBA because I would speculate that Cade finished with probably more votes than anybody else on the third team, but I don't know that for a fact. I'm just guessing. A couple of things that wanted to talk about. There was that poll out there about by NBA players, and they don't have to put their name behind it, but they're just random NBA players, and they voted Halliburton the most overrated player, and they voted Cade the most underrated player. And I'm going to tell you, Halliburton's great. The biggest difference, Cade scores more, Cade takes on more of a load, Cade got more assists. But the thing about Halliburton that's incredible, and one of the reasons why the Pacers are so successful, and they're lucky, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but Halliburton doesn't turn the ball over. Cade turns the ball over. The Pacers are this fast-breaking team, and they hardly ever turn the ball over. And it's not because it's just Halliburton has the ball in his hands a lot, and he just doesn't turn it over. His assist to turnover ratio is out of this world. But it was fun this week on ESPN, on all the ESPN shows, talking about the playoffs and the Knicks and the Pacer series. They had JB, our man, our coach, JB Bickerstaff, was in the studio doing these shows, and he sounded really good. Sounded really smart. And at one point, they started talking about the face of the league and who it might be. And JB said, "I can't help myself. I have to shout out my guy, Cade Cunningham. I think he's got a great chance to be face of the league." But it's good that we got that recognition. Again, a lot of us think that JB should have been coach of the year. Certainly, the biggest snub, I think, was Beasley. Beasley I think, should have been sixth man of the year for sure. And he meant so much to our team. He was our second lead scorer, and he was phenomenal. So, I'm sure you watched that game. The game's about to come on. The Knicks and the Pacers are going to play game 2. But when you watch these playoffs, I think you see that there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of things that a team gets hot, a team gets tight, a team chokes, including our Pistons. And I know people don't like to use the word choke. However, if you want to try to figure out a different word, but a team gets tight and all of a sudden they can't score. The Knicks were ahead by 14 points with 2:50 left in the game. And how many games have we seen like that with our Pistons? Maybe not quite that bad. They were up by 9 points with less than a minute to go. And then they just made big mistakes. They missed a couple of free throws. Brunson turned it over a bunch of times. Anunoby had a breakaway that it looked like he was going to dunk, then it looked like he was going to lay it in, and he blew it. He just whiffed on an uncontested layup. And any of those shot, he missed a free throw. Towns missed a free throw. Like I said, Brunson turned the ball over. Brunson could have turned it over a couple more times. One time he got the inbounds pass. They were full court pressing, and he went to try to hit it. He was trapped, and it's hard because he's small, and he tried to hit it off a guy's leg, and it bounced way up in the air, and it just happened to go way up towards half court to a Nick. Another time, he threw the ball. He got trapped over half court, and he whips the ball to Towns, but he whips it. It's in the backcourt. It's in it would have been over and back. Except Towns had the was ability to catch it with his feet on his side, still reach his arm out and whip it back in bounds. And so they even got lucky on some of those plays, but they still, that shot. So there's a shooter's bounce that you get if you're a great shooter. If you have good arc and good rotation on your shot, and the ball hits the rim, it'll go in a lot of times. It makes the shot softer. It makes it sucks it right into the rim if you have that good rotation. But Halliburton's shot was not that. Halliburton's shot hit the back heel of the rim and it bounced straight up in the air. I thought it was going to hit the shot clock, and it came down, and you probably all know that he had his toe on the line, but that was remarkable. But 3-point shooting is just so important. If Beasley and Hardaway would have shot the three just halfway decent, and Cade. One thing about Cade shot the three terribly. In the last game, he was 0 for 8, but most of the games, he hardly shot any threes. So even though he at the end of the season, he lost his confidence in his 3-point shot, he wasn't shooting good. And again, you've listened to me enough times. His arc isn't up there. His follow through isn't high enough. It just is really hard to be consistent. You look at Halliburton's shot, how high it goes, or Brunson's shot, or Steph's shot, all these great shooters, or Beasley's shot. The arc on them is way higher than Cade's. So Cade knows that. I know I talked to Coach Beeline. He worked with him on it. I know Cade's brother said going into one off season that was one of the things they were really going to work on. But he's got to get that. He's got to get that shot up, and I think he will. I think he said publicly that he wants to be the best player in the world, and who knows if he can get there or not. But the fact that he wants to and that he's going to work towards that, I think, is a really great sign for us. And we should all be proud that he made third team all team. It's hard. It is really hard to make third team all NBA. There's a lot of guys that get left off. And again, the new rule now is that you have to play in 65 games. So there's some players that, on third team that would have got left off, if you don't play 65 games, even if you play 50 games and you're really great, and I don't know how many games Luka played, but he's that way. He would have been all NBA, and probably Anthony Davis probably would have been all NBA, but he didn't get enough games. So yeah, it's fun watching these playoffs, but you do see defense really matters, and 3-point shooting really matters. The Celtics had this great team, great season. The first two games they got beat at home. They had 20-point leads in both games, but they shot 25 out of 100 on threes, and they were one of the better shooting. The Cavs, and they had some players hurt when they lost to the Pacers, and part of the time, but they shot the three really bad, and they choked one game where if they would have just got the ball in bounds, they would have won that game, but they just couldn't even get the ball in bounds. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of things that factor into winning, and it's just going to be a fun ride to watch or see how we're going to improve. It was Amen Thompson, I think, made first team all defense, and we all know that Asar is going to. But yeah, it's just fascinating. The East looks really bad for next year, which is really positive for us. Gives us a big opportunity, I think. But there's luck. There's these games that are close, and they come down the last play. And like I said, a lot of teams. The Celtics choked against the Knicks. The Pistons choked against the Knicks. The Cavs choked against the Pacers. The Knicks choked against. It's just when you have a big lead, when you're way up going into the end of the game, and you blow the lead, and you all of a sudden can't score. I mean, the Knicks completely were outplaying them, the Pacers, and they lost the game. But yeah, it's basketball, but it seems like it's happening more than ever, where teams are, blowing those leads. But I just wanted to get on and tell you about Cade. But thank you for listening. Be the reason that somebody feels loved and cared for, and go Pistons.